everyone, it's Sarah and welcome to my crochet channel. Today's video I'm going to show you how to crochet a Colorado style coaster. August 1st is Colorado's birthday, and so I thought it would be a lot of fun to make some Colorado coasters that resemble the Colorado flag, and then we can celebrate together. Now this is a free crochet pattern on my blog, and you can find that link down in the notes underneath this video. The Colorado coaster measures about 4.5 inches wide, so it's a nice size for any mug or cup. And I designed it in acrylic yarns because I'm basically using this to protect my wood surfaces. If you want to make it out of cotton yarn, that's fine as well, or a cotton blend. Just make sure that it's a medium number 4 yarn. I'm using 4 Red Heart Super Saver yarns. I'm using just a little bit lighter of a yellow, and then red, white, and then a little bit lighter of the blue. And I'm using those colors just to make it a little bit easier for you to see the color changes and things like that. We're going to be stitching today with our eye hook, and I'm using a 5.50 millimeter crochet hook. That's the I9 5.50 millimeter crochet hook. You'll need a needle for weaving in ends, and you'll need your scissors. We'll be starting in the center and working our way out. So we're going to begin with our yellow yarn. We'll make our slip knot, and then we're going to chain 5. We're going to join this in a circle, so we'll put the tail over our hook and pull it through. Snug that down, and then we'll just tie that little stay knot that will keep it from coming undone. Alright, so we're going to go in that chain 5, pull up a loop, and chain 3. This chain 3 will count as our first double crochet. And now we're going to stitch 11 more double crochets in this chain 5 circle, so we have a total of 12 double crochets. Yarn over, go in the loop, and pull up a loop. Yarn over, go through 2, yarn over, and go through the last 2 loops. And you will notice that I am stitching over that tail of yarn, and that's going to make it easy to close that hole when we finish stitching our 12th double crochet. Alright, let's see how many we've done so far. Here's our chain 3. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. We're going to join to the top of that chain 3 with a slip stitch. We go in, pull up a loop, then we'll pull that loop through the loop that's on our hook, and I'm just going to make a chain 1 just to hold that. We're going to turn this over and gently pull on that string, and that's going to close our hole. Sometimes you get a big hole, sometimes you don't. It just depends on how tightly you stitch, but we want to make sure that's nice and snug. And I'm going to go ahead and just take my needle, thread that on there. I'm just going to go ahead and weave it in. That way I don't have to worry about it after this. So I'm just going to go one way and go back the other, and then go back the other. Nice and snug. Clip that off. And this is how row 1 should look. You should have 12 double crochets. I'm going to take that little chain one out that I stitched, and that was just so that you could see without it coming undone. We don't want that chain one there. We're going to go ahead and clip our yellow because we're finished with our yellow, and we're going to be using our red and our white on this row. All right, so we're going to bring in our red first. And remember, when you're changing colors, always do that chain 1, 2, 3, or 4, whatever, after your color change. If I would have gone ahead and done my yellow in the chain 3, I would have a yellow stitch that didn't look very pretty and be out of place. All right, let's snug those down. And what we're going to do is we're going to place a double crochet in the same stitch as our chain 3. And then we're going to place 2 double crochets in the next 8 stitches. So 1 and 2. So I'm just going to work around stitching 2 double crochets in each of the first 9 double crochets. In our first stitch we have a chain 3 and a double crochet, and then we're stitching 2 double crochets in each of the next 8, which will equal 9 double crochets with 2 red double crochets in it. We're forming the C. All right, let me count, make sure I've got it right. So here's our chain 3 and our first double crochet, so that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. All right, now what we're going to do is switch to the white yarn. We're going to go ahead and pull out that last stitch. We're going to stitch part of it. Just go through the first 2 loops, and now we're going to grab our white yarn and we're going to pull that through those last 2 loops. All right, and then we'll just snug that red one down and the white one, and then we'll finish with these last 3 stitches stitching 2 double crochets in each. All right, we're going to join to the top of our chain 3 with a slip stitch. And I'm going to go ahead and chain 3 because we are going to chain 3 for the next row. All right, we're going to go ahead and cut our red yarn because we're finished with it. And I'll just move that ball of yarn out of the way. All right, now, so what we have is 18 stitches of the red and 6 stitches of the white. So we have 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24 double crochets all the way around. We have 18 of the red and 6 of the white. We joined to the top of our chain 3 and chained 3. Now this could pull just a little bit, so what I do is I go ahead and I turn it upside down and I give it just a little bit of a pull and a little bit of a pull to snug that down, and then I'm just going to make what I call just a little stay knot, and then I can come back in and weave that in, and I'm going to go ahead and do that with this yellow and red one also. All right, now let's turn it back over and see how much neater that looks. Now afterwards, when we're all finished, we'll come back in and weave those ends in, and this is the way that row 2 should look. Now we're going to do row 3. We're going to place a double crochet in the same stitch as our chain 3. Then we'll place a double crochet in the next stitch. Then we'll place 2 double crochets in the next stitch. And then we'll repeat this all the way around. 1 double crochet in the next, and 2 double crochets in the next. I call that 1 and 2. It's not a technical term. It just helps me remember what I'm doing. So 1 double crochet in the next stitch, and 2 double crochets in the next. 1 and 2. And we'll repeat this all the way around for row 3. So 1 double crochet in the next, and 2 double crochets in the next. We won't have to do any color changing or anything like that. We're just going to be stitching all the way around and meet back up with our chain 3 and join to the top of our chain 3. So I've stitched that all the way around, 1 and 2, 1 and 2, all the way around. I'm going to join to my chain 3 with a slip stitch. And I'm not going to chain 3 because I'm going to bring in my blue yarn. But I'm also going to leave my white yarn attached. And that's because we're going to come back in and do this trim on the edge. And that'll save us from one piece of yarn that we have to weave in. If you're more comfortable, you can cut it if you like. All right, so we brought our blue yarn in. I'm going to chain 3, snug those down. We're going to stitch a double crochet right in the same stitch as our chain 3. Then we're going to stitch 1 double crochet in the next 2 double crochets. And this is the way that this row will work. 2 double crochets in the next, and then 1 double crochet in the next 2. The last row we did 1 and 2. On this row we're doing 2 and 2. Again, not a technical term, just a way to help me remember to stitch 2 double crochets in the next stitch and 1 double crochet in the next 2. And like I said, I'm just leaving my white yarn attached, just letting it hang there. And that way I won't have to weave that in later. But if you're more comfortable going ahead and cutting that yarn and then adding it back in later, you certainly can. Remember, when you're doing a crochet pattern, you need to do what works best for you. Alrighty, so I'm going to continue on around stitching 2 double crochets together and then 1 double crochet in the next 2. Working all the way around this row till I get back to my chain 3. So 2 double crochets in the next stitch and 1 double crochet in the next 2. I stitched that 2 and 2, 2 double crochets together, 1 in each of the next 2, working all the way around. I'm going to join to the top of that chain 3 with a slip stitch, and I'm going to cut my yarn because I'm finished with the blue. And now I'm going to bring my white back in. Move my scissors out of the way there. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be stitching slip stitches, but we're only going to stitch them in the front loop. All right, so if you look at the top or the edge of your stitches, there's 2 loops. We're only going to be stitching in this front loop. So we'll go in that first front loop, pull up a loop, whoops, there we go, pull up that loop, and then pull that loop through the loop on our hook. And we're not going to be adding any stitches, so make sure that you don't stitch this row too tightly, because you want your circle to lay nice and flat. And you'll notice I'm sort of stitching just a little bit looser than I normally stitch. And as you're working, if you notice that your stitches are coming out a little bit tight, you can pull them out and redo them, because you really want this row to be nice and loose, but not loopy so that it's hanging and drooping. You want your stitches to lay nice and flat, but you don't want them to pull too tightly. And so you'll notice when I go through and I pull up my loop, I'm giving it just a little bit of space there and then pulling it through. This is going to make it lay nice and flat and give you a nice edge on your coaster. So I'm just going to continue working all the way around this row, stitching one slip stitch in the front loop of each of the double crochets. I've slip stitched all the way around, working in those front loops only, so now I have a nice edge. We're going to go right in that first slip stitch and join. All right, and then I'm going to go behind the next stitch and pull that loop to the back. And that's going to give it a much neater appearance. There we go. We'll clip our white one and tie that off. Now we do have quite a few ends that need to be tidied up. We'll tuck those in and show you that this is our Colorado coaster. And it's the perfect size for your coffee mugs, glasses, whatever that you want to use. And also a great way to celebrate Colorado's birthday.